I used to own. I used to roll the dice, feel the fear in my enemy's eyes, listen as the crowd would sing. Now the old king's...
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2021 New Hampshire Legends of Hockey Banquet. So happy we can all be back together again here today at this great facility, and we are in for a real celebration of the game we all love as we honor all levels of hockey here today and welcome our newest inductees. And now it is time for our invocation from Father C. Peter Dumont.
Thank you for inviting me. I've been here before, and I want to thank you for thinking of me again. I thought I was going to be called up to do the invocation, then I found out I had to tell a story. But before I tell a hockey story, I want to remember one of my friends who was at this podium many, many times giving the invocation, Father Robert Marchand, and he died 2 years ago, and I'd like to think of him as we get together this afternoon. He's a former board member. Also, remember those who have died since the last induction, Hall of Fame teammates, Red Gendron, Seaver Peters, Dick Bradley, and this past Thursday, Richard Ryerson. Let us bow our heads for a moment in prayer and ask that God give them the reward of eternal life. We also send our thoughts and prayers of healing for Hall of Famer Rod Blackburn, who at this time is quite ill. Back to Father Marchand. That's the French pronunciation of Marchand. He and I were stationed together in Somersworth, New Hampshire for 5 years, and we became very good friends. However, his time goes back a long time. He was ordained in 1952 as a priest, was sent to Hinsdale, New Hampshire. You know where that is? And he was an associate pastor in Hinsdale, New Hampshire. And then a few years later was sent to Berlin, to Guardian Angel, to the east side of Berlin, where there was a pastor, Father Bousquet, and 2 other curates. One curate was assigned to take care of the elementary school, the other to take care of Notre Dame High School, and the third to take care of the arena, and the pastor stayed in the rectory taking care of the rest of the parish. And they used to come back at lunchtime and report. The story I'm about to tell you happened in 1960. We don't know if it was January or February, and the junior senator from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts was campaigning for the presidency. And of course, like most politicians, they love to come to Berlin, or to go to Berlin. And he also happened to be there on a Friday night when there was a hockey game at Notre Dame Arena. He went into the arena, and he was invited to take a hockey stick and hit a puck towards the goal. In the meantime, Father Marchand told the goalie to let the puck enter the net. Make it look like a goal. So, my friend, who at the time was in high school and also one of the charges of Father Marchand, was running the Zamboni machine. And these are his words. I remember, he said, watching Kennedy hit the puck with his stick and it slowly made its way toward the goal. When the goalie missed the shot, I knew Father Marchand had spoken to him. We were all probably thinking and hoping that this was what's going to happen, that the future president would get the goal. But when the puck entered the net, the people stood up and broke up in a cheer. Then he went up to the press room, the press box, where the public address system was, and Father Marchand was there, as was his custom, and when the senator walked in, Father Marchand got up and offered him his chair, and he sat down and watched part of the game. You know the rest of the story. However, 2 days before he died, Father Marchand and I went out to lunch, and he said, "Peter, I have one regret in life." I said, "What?" "I should have kept that chair that Kennedy sat in." We bow our heads and pray. And those of you who have already started eating, I have the power to bless the food on the way down. So don't worry. Let us bow our heads in prayer. Oh God, our Heavenly Father, we know that you smile upon us when we get together with good cheer, with one another, renewing friendships, honoring that a good mind is found in a sound and healthy body, one that is disciplined with sports. As we honor the game of hockey, its players, its coaches, its officials, and yes, its great many fans, we thank you for bringing us together once again. We ask you to bless our inductees and their families. We ask you to bless the food we are about to partake together for the health of our bodies. We ask you in a special way to keep us always mindful of those who are hungry, those who need food, those who do not have good food, and those who have too much bad food. Bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts, which we are about to receive from thy bounty through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Father Dumont. And now, folks, the president of the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey, John Norman.
Good afternoon and welcome. On behalf of the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the 19th annual induction ceremony of our New Hampshire Hockey Hall of Fame. Congratulations to the 5 individuals who are about to be enshrined in our Hall of Fame. A special welcome to their families and friends who have come to join in this celebration. Also want to welcome members of our Hall of Fame who are present here today. We're gathered here today because of a game that has touched each of our lives in many different ways. This is a unique event that brings the New Hampshire hockey community under one roof, where we can rekindle old friendships, foster new ones, celebrate the past, the present, and future of hockey in New Hampshire. Of course, we're primarily gathered here for our inductees who have made significant contributions to the sport of hockey in New Hampshire. The class of 2021 represents both the past and the present of hockey in New Hampshire. Like all of our members in our Hall of Fame, our inductees have given back to the sport of hockey and have left their unique imprint on the New Hampshire hockey landscape. I'd like to take a minute to recognize a few of the dignitaries who have joined us today. Senator Lou D'Alessandro of Manchester, a longtime Legend supporter and former board member. Thank you for your continued contribution. Joe Marsh, our keynote speaker. Thank you, Joe. And former longtime Dartmouth head coach, Bob Gaudette. We also have 3 board members from the Massachusetts Hockey Hall of Fame, Joe Bertagna, Dan Esdale, and Steve Berg. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming along. Our story is in the program, but as many of you are aware, the New Hampshire Legends was formed in 2001 with our primary mission of honoring, celebrating, and preserving New Hampshire's rich ice hockey history while supporting the development of hockey. The first organized game with rules in the United States was played in 1883 on a pond here in Concord by students at St. Paul's School, today's luncheon sponsor. You can access all of the Hockey Hall of Fame by going on our website, NewHampshireLegendsOfHockey.com, which is listed in your program. Annually, anyone may research, then submit a nomination of a deserving individual for induction. Next year, those nominations are due by March 1st of 2022. We encourage anyone who has someone that you think is deserving, please put that name forward for us to select, hopefully select. In the past few years, the focus of New Hampshire Legends has continued to expand by supporting the growth of hockey in New Hampshire at all levels. We've supported several youth programs with the donation of equipment for youth players, most recently programs in Rochester, Berlin, Laconia, and the Upper Valley. We partner with the New Hampshire high school coaches to recognize boys and girls all-state players. We also partner with New Hampshire prep school coaches to recognize their all-state players. With the exception of last spring, we also sponsor the Senior All-Star doubleheader for Division I, Division II, and Division III teams at the season's end. In addition, we help support the boys and girls annual Make-A-Wish game between New Hampshire and Vermont for high school seniors each summer. Lastly, we continue to support the Black Ice Pond Hockey Tournament, a senior pond hockey tournament held here at White's Park in Concord. After a year layoff, it's once again being held the last weekend of January. And if you haven't attended, we urge you to do so. It's a fantastic event, and many of our board directors helped to support that event. The proceeds have gone to expanding skating areas throughout the capital city, and now financially supported the now completed skate house at White's Park. It also connects many of us on the Legends board to our roots, the days when we learned to play hockey on a local pond in our hometowns. You can expect the New Hampshire Legends to continue to support hockey in New Hampshire, particularly the future of the sport at the grassroots level, youth hockey through Matt Roy, the current New Hampshire Amateur Hockey Association president and member of our board of directors. Matt, thank you for your support, and congratulations to all your coaches, volunteers, and board members. In particular, I'd like to thank our major sponsors. Our presenting sponsor, Bauer, thank you again for your continued support and the equipment program. Our luncheon sponsor, St. Paul's School, many thanks to Rector Kathy Giles and staff and alumni here today. Those from St. Paul's, please stand. Our co-title sponsors, New Hampshire Amateur Hockey Association. Again, many thanks to Matt Roy, the Board of Directors, Warner Mazda, and Bob Warner. But Matt, please stand up with any of your board members and receive our applause. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Board of Directors. Our social hour sponsor, New Hampshire Distributors. Many thanks to Tom Brown and Chris Brown and the entire management team for their support, which dates back to 2004. Tom and the employees from New Hampshire Distributors, please stand. Our ring sponsor, New Car Automotive of Tilton and Sean Hanlon. Thank you for your support. New Car, we hope to have you come back year after year. Thanks again. We'd also like to recognize in support of our other sponsors, the 14 gold level sponsors, the 11 silver level, and our 7 bronze sponsors who are listed in the program. Thank you all of our sponsors for your generosity and support. The New Hampshire Legends is a nonprofit organization that depends on your support and that of our sponsors to continue our mission, which is printed on the top cover of the program. Our executive director and board work tirelessly all year to organize this premier event, as well as our annual Golf Classic in July and the Senior All-Star Games in March. Many thanks to our current board members who are listed in the program, and those of you who are on the board, please stand. Board members, don't be shy, guys. Once again, congratulations to our class of 2021 and Exeter High School. We believe everyone will thoroughly enjoy today's ceremony. And as most of you know, the Stanley Cup is arriving at our ceremony towards the end, and you will have the opportunity to have pictures taken before you leave. So I can't say enough about having that trophy here. It's just making this day extremely, very, very special, and I hope you can all enjoy in that and take advantage of having your picture taken. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, John. And now a gentleman who needs no introduction, but I'll give him one anyway. A gentleman who has been very much a part of this organization from day one. He is also the Dean of the New Hampshire State Senate, the Honorable Lou D'Alessandro.
Thank you, Kenny. Kenny Kale, the voice of hockey in New Hampshire, was a magnificent broadcaster when we had our team in Manchester, and we certainly miss you, Kenny. We miss you on the air for hockey, and we miss you doing the baseball for the Fisher Cats. So, wonderful, wonderful participant and great friend of hockey in New Hampshire. Before I kind of paraphrase the governor, I want to ask all of you to think about Rod Blackburn. Rod Blackburn was my classmate at the University of New Hampshire. First met Rod when we were freshmen at the university. Spent some time together through the years. In those days, one of my jobs was cleaning the hockey rink. We didn't have any Zambonis in those days. We used to clean it with a truck and used a 55-gallon drum full of water to create new ice. So Blackie was our goalie, and he made Sports Illustrated by making 101 saves in a game against Boston University our freshman year. Blackie Blackie was our first All-American at the University of New Hampshire, first All-American hockey player. And those who saw Blackie play will never forget him. He had a style all of his own. Blackie is in pretty bad shape as I speak to you today. So I ask all of you to remember Rod Blackburn in your prayers, and to think of Blackie as you would a family member, and hope and pray that he will recover. He was one of the most interesting guys I ever met in my life, and I'll tell you, he had that Notre Dame jacket on for the New England Hockey Championship every day at college. So please remember Blackie. He was a great American. Now let me recognize a letter from the governor of the state of New Hampshire. The governor is very, very pleased to welcome the new inductees. Sorry that he can't be here, but indeed he recognizes their contributions and their charisma as it relates to hockey and their contributions to good sportsmanship in New Hampshire. He congratulates each and every one of them for their success, for being inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame, and to the directors who have done such a magnificent job of putting this together. Sorry that he can't be here, but he extends his heartiest congratulations to all, as I do. Wishes you a great, great American Day. Stay happy, stay healthy, and keep the dream alive and well. Thank you very much.
Each year, we select one team to honor at the induction ceremony. In October of 2019, we announced that team was the boys and girls hockey history of Exeter High School. And today, we are here to honor them. Of note, much of the following information can be found in today's program on page 6. The boys and girls hockey teams at Exeter have been among the most successful in the state since their respective inceptions. The roots of the boys program were planted in Exeter with Exeter Youth Hockey, which was founded in 1961. The team went on to win the New Hampshire Bantam Championship in 65-66, and some of those players would join the first high school team in 67-68, led by local businessman Jim Houston, a Legends Hall of Fame inductee in 2015. The push to add ice hockey came to fruition in 67-68 when Exeter fielded a club team. Next year, under coach and school principal Bert MacArthur, the team went 9-5 in their first NHIAA season. Since the 69-70 season, the program has had only 3 head coaches. Peter Clark compiled an 81-52-4 record over 8 seasons, reaching 3 state semifinals and the championship game in 74-75. Jim Tufts, the Legends Hall of Fame inductee in 2012, became head coach at Exeter High in 1977-78 and held that position through the 2018-19 season, compiling a record of 508 wins, 404 losses, and 29 ties. His teams reached 3 Division I state semifinals in 83, 87, and 94, and won the Division I championship game in 82-83. The Blue Hawks moved into Division II for the 94-95 season and played the semifinals that season, as well as 98 when they lost to Winnicott at 6-4 in the championship game. They won back-to-back championships in 2001 and a 4-0 victory over Oyster River in 2002, in 2000, and a 2-1 victory over Spalding that following year. They returned to Division I the next season and reached the semifinals in 3 of the 5 years, 04, 05, and 08. And in 2009-10, it reached the championship game losing 1-0 to Concord. And then they were back in the Final Four in 2016. Paul DiMarino became the head coach in 2019 and subsequently 2020-21 season. Thus far, he has compiled a record of 26-9-2, giving the boys an overall record of 624 wins, 470 losses, and 35 ties. Many players continue on to play at the collegiate level, but most notably 9 players at the Division I level. Of those 9, current member, Hall of Fame member Dana Barban, Jonathan Higgins, played at Vermont, helped their teams reach the Frozen Four. The girls' teams, so while the boys' teams had 53 years of hockey history, the first season for the girls was a club program under the leadership of John Lesage in 2005 and 06. 2 years later, the program played its first NHIAA varsity season under Coach Lesage. Just the second coach in the team's history. Current coach Jeff Taylor took the helm in 08-09 and has guided the team in 3 straight championship games in 2017, 18, and 19, and losing to Hanover on each of those occasions. A few of the more notable players over the years in the girls program include Carissa Tolson, 2018 Player of the Year, finished her career with 214 goals, 98 assists, and 312 points. Dakota Markey finished with 169 career points. Ashley Keaveney was 3 times member of the 100-Point Club and 3-year All-State selection, who went on to play at Endicott College. Isabel Day was a 3-time All-State goalie who went on to play at Johnson and Wales. And Shauna Van de Bonker, I think I'm saying this right, was Player of the Year in 2019 and 20 as a sophomore after scoring 42 goals, 17 assists for 59 points. She's currently playing at Exeter Academy and is committed to Brown University. I'd like to invite Coach Athletic Director Bill Ball. Would you please come up? I have make an award, present a jersey. I also have these citations.
Just want to take the opportunity on behalf of Exeter High School, surrounding towns of Exeter, to thank the legends, to thank Johnny Norman. I know for a fact that Peter Marr had a lot to do with this recognition, and I'd be remiss not to say that Jimmy Tufts, who, as many people know, has been a mainstay in Exeter High School in the area for many times, couldn't make today. He apologizes, had a family situation, but his congratulations to all. Great honor here tonight. Exeter High School, you put our name next to Notre Dame, Berlin. I certainly know what Dickie and John Dodds have done at Hanover, and I'm very familiar with what Dunk Walsh has done at Concord. It's an honor to be in that fraternity, in that membership. List of people you talked about, I can't think of a person that's been better to Exeter hockey or Exeter High School than Dana Barban. He's been a tremendous friend to all of us over the years, never forgot where he came from. Jim Houston began that program, as Johnny said, a long time ago. I want to recognize his son, Dan, here today. Nice to have him. I entered this room today, and I've been here a couple of times when Dana went in and when Jimmy went in, and you can sense the tradition. You can feel it. It's real. And we all know it, because you know what? It's not something you can buy. You can't purchase it. It's not for sale. It's inside you. You either have it or you don't. And you have it every day of your life. And it's such an honor for us to be here to celebrate our girls program, and Jeff and Johnny and Tom Marr have done a great job with that, and obviously Peter Clark, Burt MacArthur, and Jimmy, and now Paul DiMarino. Trust me, he'll be here in 30 years, maybe a few less. He'll be here. It's going to be a great one. But we're just so proud of our program. We're so thankful to you. We're thankful. It's great to see the class of '83 come back out here. One guy flew in from California. Thurston's here. This is great. It's old Exeter and new Exeter, and we're very, very proud to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Coach Ball, and congratulations to Exeter High School for their outstanding hockey program over the years. And now, time for lunch.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. I have a brief message here to share with you pertaining to our supporters campaign. Listed on the inside of the back cover of today's program are individuals who have joined this drive to date during 2021. We received a record number of supporters this year, and we cannot thank each and every one of you enough. Thank you. If you like what you've learned about us today, we strongly urge you to consider supporting us during the last quarter for the year of going into 2022. On your table, there are a number of supporters brochures that you can join online as well. So please, we really would like your support, and again, hope you're enjoying this day. Ken?
Thank you, John, and time now to recognize the legends of hockey that are in attendance today. On the left side of the building to my right, at table 3, right down here, you just heard from him, John Normand. And we'd like you to, I'm glad you gave John a nice hand, but we want you to hold your applause until everybody's been introduced. So at table 13, I make that table 14, I'm sorry, is Frank Roy. At table 13, Mark Evans. At table 12, Bob Gaudette, Dick Dodds, and Bill Matthews. At table 11, John Dodds. At table 15, Dick Roy and Renee LeClaire. At table 16, Ray Champagne and Willie the Barber Bebo. At table 17, Dick Boucher. At table 28, Dana Barbin. Now on the right side of the room, or off to my left, at table 5 is Ken McKinnon. Table 8, Pierre Belanger and Merrill Fay. At table 24, Gary Bishop. At table number 23, Andre Prefontaine. And at table 35, Bruce Parker and Steve Murphy. So let's give them all a nice round of applause. Is there anyone I missed? And Dickie Martin is here as well. So let's hear it. And ladies and gentlemen, now time to welcome our keynote speaker today. He originally hails from Lynn, Massachusetts. And I know what many of you are thinking right now, but you don't have to say it. He served as the head hockey coach at the New Hampton School, and then for many years at St. Lawrence University, where he became one of the top college coaches in history. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome Joe Marsh.
Thank you very much. This is quite an honor to be here. Before I begin, I'd like to commend this committee. When Tommy Moulton and Jimmy Hayes called me about this, I did a little homework and looked through the roster, and I saw so many names that I recognize, and particularly some of the guys from the old Manchester Blackhawks, Ray Champagne and Andre Prefontaine. My brother was on that team with those guys. So when I was a kid, I used to come up and once in a while practice with them when I was in high school, try not to get run over. Spent a lot of time getting run over, actually, but got used to it. I want to congratulate also all the today's very deserving inductees. This committee has done such a fabulous job in recognizing people that, and really you've got it right in so many ways. It's just well done, and they deserve a real hand for what they've accomplished here. When I got the call from Tommy and Jimmy Hayes, I kind of thought, first of all, I was kind of like, why me? They must be digging down for some speakers at this thing, but it turns out I do appreciate it. It means a lot to me to be here. It's quite an honor, and I thought about what really I would talk about. I thought really I'd run through some of the highlights of my playing career at the University of New Hampshire. But I was told I was supposed to talk for 10 minutes, not 35 seconds. So I just thought I'd move on a little bit, and I got to thinking about what it's like to actually be a legend. What is it comprised of? What does it mean to be considered legendary? Then I started thinking a little bit more about it, and I think it has to do with geography. Let me explain. At St. Lawrence, we have a legend there. It's an actual true story. He was a Zamboni driver. Okay, his name was Morris. Morris the Zamboni driver. He did it for a long, long time. This is in the days when St. Lawrence didn't quite have the teams that, you know, they've been accustomed to. This was before Mike McShane got there and sort of changed our fortunes around considerably, but they had some lean years. They used to call it Wild West Night, where they'd open the one end of the building door and then they'd open up the other and see how many tumbleweed would come roaring through. And there were a lot of people, not a lot of people going to the games. But so Morris was a Zamboni driver. He used to, there was a couple of bars downtown, not too far from the rink. So what Morris would do is he'd go out and do the ice. So between periods, after he dumped the snow behind Appleton Arena, he'd take it, Zamboni, ride down Minor Street. It was only probably maybe a third of a mile, and park the Zamboni right on Main Street and go in and have a couple of cocktails. Now, I don't think I'm making this up, but it's absolutely true. And nobody noticed because there wasn't anybody at the game. So, but it would be an odd sight to come down Main Street, see the Zamboni parked out there. And it was Moose's bar. We went to the same place. Moose always had the radio on. So you'd get down, a few minutes left to go in the period, and you know, Morris would be finishing one off. Hey, Morris, you better start thinking about heading up Minor Street here. They're going to be doing the ice pretty soon. So up he'd go. He'd hop on the Zamboni, up he'd go, and you know, fortunately the police knew Morris pretty well, and you really couldn't get caught for speeding in a Zamboni. It was pretty good. So anyway, he became a legend. That was sort of a legend of Appleton Arena, which is absolutely true. And I know legends can mean a lot of different things. I happen to be personally a legend myself in Naples, Florida, at the coaches convention one year. The legendary status, not something I'm really proud of, but it happened nonetheless. There was a gathering at least double the size of this room. And So it was the morning meeting, it was the roll call meeting. So everybody's there. Everybody that's at the convention, at the hockey coaches convention is there. So they have a sponsored breakfast by, I don't know, Bauer or somebody, one of the big companies sponsors this breakfast. So they had a nice little layout. They had some muffins, and they had some turnover, they had some things, some coffee. And so I had a little coffee, and I thought, geez, I have to have something to go with this. And I spied a muffin. Seemed to have my name on it, right there at the buffet table. So the meeting was called to order, so I didn't have a lot of time to waste. And I thought I'd, put a little giddy up to it, and I made a mad dash for this muffin. Unfortunately, they do a really, really good job cleaning the glass at this ceiling to floor glass, hurricane strength glass in Naples, Florida. I hit this thing doing about 20 miles an hour with a hot, full cup of coffee, and it sounded like a cannon went off. And that's kind of all I remember. I nearly knocked myself out. I went back, there's all coffee all over me, and I turned around and I shook it off and I looked out, and there were about 450 people like this, just standing there. And my good friend who's here today, Joe Bertagno, being the president of the American Hockey Coaches Association, among many other titles that he holds, thought it was really important in future years to warn people about the dangers of hurricane, particularly really clean hurricane glass, so that wouldn't ever happen again. So he pasted my picture all over the glass for years to come. So I'd get out of Florida and my kids would say, "Dad, how come your picture's all over the glass down here?" I mean, I didn't have the heart to tell them what it was about, but they knew it had something to do with me being stupid, I guess. But I know as I said, I'm not supposed to be up here very long. And again, my highlights of my career would have lasted a mere 35 seconds. I was telling Gavin Bayruth's mom today that my position at UNH was one of the grocery stick. A lot of people, I think some of you guys must have heard that expression, grocery stick. They're not widely used anymore because of COVID. You have to be about 10 miles away from the person in the grocery line. But a grocery stick, as a player, is the guy that keeps the defenseman separate from the forwards on the bench. You're following my drift. I got to chat it up with a lot of my buddies, and that was good. That was my role. I thought it was a very important role, and it would have something to do with the lack of any sort of numbers that I had produced at my playing days. But it's a tremendous honor to be here, and in all seriousness, this legend thing means a great deal to a lot of people. I think being a legend is just that. It's not just that you were good players. I coached for a long time and came to the realization, and I think every coach ever will tell you the same thing. It's not always about the best players. It's more about the right players. Oftentimes when you have the combination of both, you end up with players like we see here today, and it's very, very successful teams. But you people that have being recognized today, I'm sure are being recognized because it's not that they're doing this to make you feel good. They're doing this to make everybody feel good. People here are being recognized because they know what you mean to other people. They know what it means to put a successful team together, to have the right players. And when people see who's inducted, you get a collective sort of smile on people's faces. You get a collective nod of agreement that, yeah, that was either a long time coming or certainly well-deserved or whatever, but it's always the affirmative. I am so honored to be here. This is a great, my very good friends, Bob Gaudette and Dick Umili, unfortunately, at the last minute, I guess, bailed out. Probably heard that I was going to speak, and it might have had something to do with it. But two of the premier coaches in the history of college hockey, not only in this state but nationally as well. But both coaches of the iconic Division I teams in the state of New Hampshire, and I'm proud to call them my friend. And the one thing that sticks out in my mind about those guys is the same thing. It's not just about being the best. It's about doing it the right way. These are guys that any one of us, if we had a son, would have been very proud to have them as their coach. And again, I'll just wrap this up by saying I want to again thank you so much for this opportunity. It was great riding down with Bob this morning, scraping off the frost off the windshield and catching up with Bob. But he lives now in Freedom, New Hampshire, which isn't too far from where I live. Generally, it's about a half an hour ride. Of course, it took me about 50 minutes today because I got somebody that was driving 20 miles an hour in a lane you couldn't pass, so I was losing my mind doing that. But it was just a great time for us, and I'm sure we'll enjoy the rest of the day. Congrats again to you inductees, all well deserved, and thanks again for this opportunity. Thank you.
That's a tough act to follow. At this time, at our annual meeting last May, the Board of Directors selected a team to honor next fall. This institution has a long storied hockey history dating back to 1935. The original rink was located on Chetlas Pond. A rink with a Quonset-style roof was built in '63. In 1974, ice-making equipment was added. The team continued to play in that rink until 1988, when number 4, Bobby Orr, was on hand to help dedicate the Whittemore Athletic Center and Ackerstrom Arena. The school has had a number of luminaries, both playing and coaching, including George Ackerstrom, Don Sennett, Bill Riley, Don Cahoon, Bob Blood, Ray Jakes, and Scott Gordon, and the team is currently coached by Tim Whitehead. The girls program began playing in 1984 and boasts players and coaches the likes of Karine Bombardier, Samantha Holmes, Nadine Muzzerall, Roberta McLean, Laurie Charpentier, Sophie Leclerc, and Mark Hudak, who is currently coached by Sam Fitorik. The girls have 2 New England Prep School championships to their credit, while the boys have won 3 New England Small School championships and 4 New England Elite Division championships. With us today are representatives from next year's honored team, Kimball Union. If I could get Tim Whitehead and his contingent to please take a stand. We look forward to having you here next year. Thanks for coming. All right, all yours.
And now for our honorees today. First, we have a native of Needham, Massachusetts, who arrived in Dover, New Hampshire in 1977 to become the director of that city's recreation rink, and then helped transition that rink into the Foster rink that we know today. Also, a founding member of the New England Ice Skating Managers Association from Needham, Massachusetts, Paul Shalhoub. Come on up, Paul.
A lot of familiar faces out here today. I know there's quite a group of people that came up from Dover, and it's great to see all of you. There's a lot of other familiar faces that I've seen from around the state, at hockey referees, rink managers, and so forth that I had the privilege of meeting over the years. It's truly an honor to be recognized for helping to build hockey in the Seacoast. But I had a lot of help doing that. It wasn't just me. It was all the people from Dover that came out and helped build the rink. We did a lot of our own renovations in-house with volunteers, and have the rink that we have today with two nice sheets of ice. And I've really had the privilege of meeting a lot of great people with my time here in New Hampshire at the Dover Arena. And I'm very privileged and thankful to be recognized for this time. And I want to recognize my wife Kathy and my son Michael and his wife Jamie that are here with us today, along with some friends. It's a great honor, and thank you very much.
Our next inductee was a goaltender at Dover High School when Paul Shalhoub was coaching there, as a matter of fact. Started his officiating career, for the most part, in Hockey East in 1986. Made it to the National Hockey League in 1988 and spent 32 seasons in the NHL. Served as a linesman 32 years, over 2,000 games, one of two Americans to officiate that many National Hockey League games. He has worked 9 Stanley Cup Finals, the 2010 Vancouver Olympics, the 1999 NHL All-Star Game, Hockey's World Cup in 2004 and 2016, and the 2010 Winter Classic at Fenway Park. A native of Dover, New Hampshire, we welcome and congratulate Brian Murphy.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Jim Hayes and Johnny Norman and all the board of directors. I appreciate the honor today. Thank you. I want to congratulate Paul, Bruce, Lauren, and Ben. Congratulations. Privileged to be here with you. I get asked a lot what was the best part about my job, and I always tell people it was to go to a local grocery store, because invariably I'd run into people that I knew. And one day in particular always stood out. In the early 90s, I was at Shaw's Market in Dover and saw this couple coming down the aisle, and could tell, you just tell them people want to talk to you. And so we got halfway down the aisle, and the couple stopped me, and the gentleman says to me, "Are you Brian Murphy?" And I go, "Yeah, I am." And he says, "I'm Jim Clark." And Jim was the first president of Dover Youth Hockey. And Jim Clark's one name, but people like me don't get here today without so many people like Jim Clark. My first hockey coach, Freddie Catalfo, is here today. It's people like them that have given their lives to hockey, and there's so many people in this room that you're like that. And that's why it's a privilege for me to be here with Paul today, because, Paul, you have to compare this. Back in the late 70s, there was a rink in Newington, and there was a rink in Dover. And since then, the rink in Newington has been a Chuck E. Cheese. It's been the world headquarters for Planet Fitness, and it's now a furniture store. And the Dover Arena, to me, is one of the finest facilities we have in the state of New Hampshire, and that's a reflection of Paul. My mother, she was born in Exeter, New Hampshire, but she grew up on the south end of Dover, and for some reason she had an affinity for ice skating. And she always built a rink in the backyard. My dad He was the typical hockey dad. He just liked to go to tournaments and party with my friend's parents over here at that table over there. That's what he liked to do. But he wasn't worried about the score of the game. It wasn't important to him. It's just the fact we were out and doing fun things. But, people always ask me what makes professional athletes, what makes professional athletes? And the biggest thing I always say is that they are the most competitive people you'll ever meet in your lifetime. They want to be successful. And that's my brother Mike. He's that way, and he taught me that way. And, we used to skate on the backyard rink with our neighbor John Mitchell. And, it was life lessons there that certainly carried me through with my career. November 1979, young UNH student walked into the Dover Arena. He was looking for coaching and looking for work. He became the high school coach for everybody sitting at his table over there. Became a mentor for me. Dan Raposa. He was a Hockey East referee, and that's really, he got me into refereeing. That's why I got in. It motivated me to do it. I really only wanted to do college hockey. That's all I really wanted to do. I tell my kids all the time, life's about people believing in you. You got to give you an opportunity, and somebody's got to believe in you. And I was lucky. I had, in New Hampshire, there was this gentleman named Kay Duckworth. Some of you referees in the room remember Kay. I got that opportunity. Mark Rudolph with USA Hockey, John McCauley, Brian Lewis with the NHL. They spotted me at they used to have this thing called the Olympic Festival, and they do it every summer. And John McCauley came to Houston, Texas, watched me work a game, and said, "You're going to work in the American League this fall." So my parents only came to I think 3 or 4 of my games live in my lifetime. My dad's passed away. My mother just not capable of making it here today. But they only came to 3 or 4 games ever saw me live. But they came to my first American League game, Portland, Maine. And before the game started, 2 players started a fight. So I saw my mother the next morning, and she looked at me and she goes, "Are you sure you want to do that?" But it all worked out. A couple years later, John McCauley called. I was working for a gentleman in Dover named Bill Hopkins, and he called the office that afternoon, and Bill answered the phone. I wasn't there. I was at the local rink working with a local kids hockey team, volunteering, coaching for them. So I missed the call, but Bill got the call, and I think the rest of kind of that story is a little bit chronicled. So I met my wife at Lisa at a UNH hockey game. So I can pretty much trace everything back to hockey. Together we had 2 wonderful children. I don't know how else to describe it, Casey and Shayna. And I missed so much of their lifetime, and Lisa deserves all the credit. And the worst thing, these phones, the worst thing about them is they track everything, right? And so now Marriott, we stay at Marriott hotels when I was traveled, and they track everything. And so my phone tells me that while I was working for the NHL, I stayed in 4,400 Marriott nights. Basically about 12 years of my life in a hotel. But there were certain occasions that the kids came along, Lisa came along. We have so many great memories, and I can still remember, Casey was 17 years old at the time, and they're having the Winter Classic at Fenway, and I met the ice guy for the NHL a month before, and he was at a Bruins game, and Casey and Shayna were with me, and we were driving home after the game, and I told the girls that they were going to get to skate at Fenway Park the day before the game. And my 17-year-old Casey looked at me and she goes, "Dad, that'd be pretty cool." And I still remember Shayna taking slap shots at the TD Garden on the morning of Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals in 2013, and the big smile on her face as she was blasting the puck at the TD Garden. So there's a few memories along the way, and my career kind of ended abruptly with COVID. I was planning on retiring at the end of that year, but the NHL shut down, and that was it. And I still remember the girls texting right away and saying, "Dad, we're good." So I was fortunate enough, I guess timing's everything in life, but when I left the NHL, Hockey East was in the process of looking for a new supervisor of men's officials, and you know, everything's about opportunity in life, and I really appreciate the fact Steve Metcalf gave me the opportunity, and I think Joe always supported me. It's nice to see Joe here today because he was always a huge supporter of mine, and I appreciate the fact he took the time to come here today. And lastly, you know, I guess to finish with the Hockey East thing, I guess, is, you know, it's a privilege to work there because, I mean, I see Joe Marsh and Bob Gaudet here today, and I talked to both of them beforehand, but, you know, working in Hockey East with the legendary coaches that are there now, I can't tell you what a privilege it is to be there and work with them and to talk to Joe and Bob today. These people are unbelievable people and how much they care about the game. And so it was a great opportunity to speak to them today. I appreciate it at the time. And lastly, I got a lot of friends here today. Can't tell you. I can't tell you how much. I can't use anybody by name, you know, but some, you know, former officials, guys I worked high school hockey with, you know, people I've skated with for years, some people I skated with since I was 7 years old and played on a high school team together. Other people I skated various ranks from Newburyport to Exeter, Rochester, Dover. You know, I know there's a couple people in this room. There's more than a couple people because I know a couple are on the board of directors. But to me, there's nothing like skating at Jackson's Landing on a Sunday morning at 7 a.m. And anyway, thank you all for coming today, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate the board putting me in. Thank you.
Our next inductee is from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, being inducted today in the media category. He's the author of a number of books, including Seahawk, which is on display today, Seahawk Confessions of an Old Hockey Goalie. He told me earlier today that he's been playing goal for almost 70 years, believe it or not, and served our country in Vietnam as well. We welcome from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, Bruce Valley.
Good afternoon, everyone. My humble gratitude to the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey for this honor, and my welcome to the ladies and gentlemen and all my fellow hockey players. As today's media inductee, it should come as no surprise when I suggest that words are important. I've not always believed that. Graduating from Annapolis decades ago, I wrote arguing for action instead of words. How to measure one's success is not an easy thing, for it's not the words and writings, but the deeds that have a ring. These were meant to be words of warning. Almost all of us were headed to Vietnam. Most, but not all, returned. Actions there meant survival. But then, decades of living, of observing the world as it was, not as I wished it to be, my years as a Washington speechwriter, these chapters inevitably altered the callow view of my youth. I came to realize that words do have power. Words move us. Words can inspire us, even in today's climate where freedom of speech seems sometimes to be challenged. I'd like to offer two brief excerpts from an unfinished book about the golden age of hockey in New Hampshire in the decade or two following the Second World War. The book focuses on the northern city of Berlin, on the Berlin Maroons, its famed multinational champion Senior A hockey team, against whom I was both privileged and condemned to play several times in the late 1950s, and also on the city's two high schools, which dominated schoolboy hockey in the state for almost 3 decades. These excerpts are bookends, the opening and closing pages of the book. In reading them, I leave to you the judgment of whether words, mere words, can allow us to inhabit another time, another place, even another person. And so, the first bookend. Hello, je m'appelle Norman Boucher. My name is Norman Boucher. Late at night, I skate in Berlin's Notre Dame Arena. No one else is there. The lights are off, but the translucent ice and bright sideboards provide illumination to mark the shimmer of my passing. My goal pads, gloves, and stick, once heavy and awkward, but now weightless, remind me of the game I so love and once played every day. 5 decades ago, in the winter of 1969, there was an accident here. Berlin's 2 junior high schools were warming up for a game. The winter's heavy snows had built up on the arena's concert-style roof. Without warming, except for a low rumble and sudden cracking sound, the walls crumbled as the roof collapsed, huge beams falling like guillotines upon the ice, followed by roof sections and untold tons of heavy snow. There was no time to react. Everyone on the ice or in the stands flung themselves under any protective cover, hoping somehow to survive as the roar of falling structures and snow blinded sight and froze thought. Within minutes, the roofless arena was filled with emergency helpers, pulp mill workers, police and firemen, anguished townspeople, all digging desperately to save those buried, while the piercing sound of sirens rang outside in the freezing air. Miraculously, all were found and saved, most without serious injury, all but one. Caught in the end of the rink that came down first, a 15-year-old goaltender could not skate fast enough in his unwieldy equipment to find safety. Struck by a descending support beam, he was the only fatality on that tragic and terrible day. That was me, Norman. I would be in my 60s now, probably stout and with thinning hair like my father's. Instead, I remain forever 15, skating nightly in the darkened arena of a small, proud city in New Hampshire's great northern forest. The closing bookend. Me again, Norman. Sometimes as I skate in the arena late at night, I am not alone. There are other skaters on the ice with me. At first, only a shimmering presence, a vague blur of color and motion. But then, slowly taking shape, they become hockey players, skating vigorously with stick and puck, heads up, legs pumping, looking to pass or shoot. I see the jersey numbers and recognize the faces of great maroon players from the past and of their equally storied opponents, the black and yellow of the Boston Bruins, the red, blue, and white of the Habs, the Montreal Canadiens, even a United States Olympic sweater here and there, and a number of former high school players dart about, those whose lives, like mine, never reach the fullness of time. Ghosts, all ghosts. They are all hockey ghosts. Not often, but now and then, there are enough of us to scrimmage. Those are the nights I love best, for they remind me of being alive. Fast skating, crisp passing, thundering checks, end-to-end rushes, old-time hockey. Then comes the defining moment. A maroon star of long ago whirls quickly past a young Notre Dame high school defenseman and flies straight toward my goal. I crouch, wary, ready, and my eyes brightening. I remember yet again what I love so much about the game of hockey and about playing in net. That last second or partial second, when everything happens at once and the issue is decided. If I make a difficult save, I sometimes hear sticks banging on sideboards in the darkened arena. My face hidden behind my mask. I smile to myself. Sometimes a clever forward dekes that one last magical time in close and costs me my balance. My reaction is awkward or late, and a goal is scored. But the attackers are veteran players, much older. They have experience and skill. I am still only 15. No matter. I have eternity to improve my game. Sometimes it seems words are all we have. If so, they must serve to flesh out the heart's last soft cry. So, Tabernacle. I am very honored, Johnny Normand, Dickie Boucher, Walter Nadeau, Jimmy Hayes. Merci beaucoup. And I'm very happy, Ronnie Lavoie, the Lewiston Lion, and Tommy Moulton, the D-man from Monhegan. This honor fills an old goalie's heart. Thank you all.
And I guess appropriately enough, we have another goaltender coming up for induction today, who began her career in goal with the Manchester Youth Hockey Association. I know many of you familiar with that great organization for many, many years. Went on to play at Cushing Academy in Massachusetts before a great career at Cornell. After Cornell, went on to play professionally and is still very active in the coaching ranks. From Manchester, New Hampshire, we welcome Lauren Slobodnik.
Thank you. I want to start by once again expressing my deepest gratitude to the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey organization and all of the very generous sponsors who made this wonderful event possible. It is truly a privilege to be receiving this distinction today. This represents not only a culmination of years of hard work, but also the efforts of my predecessors and the devotion of my support system. So I would like to take this time at the podium to briefly thank those who helped me reach this incredible milestone. It is with deep appreciation that I recognize all the trailblazing women who came before me. Their dedication fostered growth and increased recognition for women's hockey, ultimately leading to new opportunities such as the establishment of the first U.S. Women's Pro League. They were my role models, and I hope that through my own journey, I have also inspired the next generation of girls. To all my coaches over the years supporting and believing in me, a special thank you to my career-long coach, Rob Day, for taking me on as his first female athlete and believing that I was not just as good, but better than all the boys. Through your coaching, you managed to transform me from a sloppy stand-up goalie to one with poise and impeccable technique, a skill set that served me well during my entire hockey career. To my incredibly dedicated college coaches, Doug Dara and Edith Racine, thank you for toughening me up with the countless 6 a.m. practices in 3 days. Your commitment allowed me to reach new levels in my game and ultimately opportunities to fulfill my dream of wearing the Team USA jersey. More importantly, you made me a stronger, more resilient person prepared to take on life's challenges. Last but certainly not least, I'd like to thank my family. A shout out to my older brother Jonathan, who introduced me both to the sport and to the position of goaltending by using me as his personal shooter tutor in our parents' driveway. To my grandparents, aunts, and uncles who frequently helped my parents get all 3 kids to practices and games when they were at opposite ends of the state. To my fiance Pat for being my number 2 fan, of course, just behind my dad. And to his parents who still know nothing about hockey but always supported me anyways. Most importantly, I'd like to thank my parents for their incredible sacrifices to allow me the opportunity to play and excel at the sport I love. Thank you for signing me up for hockey despite being the only girl on the ice. Thank you for waking up at 5 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday mornings to freeze your butts off on the cold bleachers, for the countless hours of travel and holidays spared, and for your immense financial sacrifices that made it all possible. There is no way I could ever repay you for all you have done. Mom, thank you. I know that Dad would be beyond proud too. Thank you again for this amazing recognition. It means so much to me.
Our next inductee was born right here in Concord, grew up in Canaan, New Hampshire, played 3 seasons at Dartmouth under legendary coach Bob Gaudette, before playing in the American Hockey League with the Norfolk Admirals and then the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, then on to the National Hockey League with the Pittsburgh Penguins, Anaheim Ducks, back to Pittsburgh for a Stanley Cup in 2016, then on to the New Jersey Devils, and finally the Dallas Stars. And now, happy to say, back in New Hampshire, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Ben Lovejoy.
Murph, congrats. Great to see you. Before I begin, let me tell a quick story. I had 3 dirty hits in my career. It happens. One of them in Calgary. I fought the first guy that came up and challenged me. It's what you do. I paid my penance. I got out of the penalty box, and Big Ern, Brian McGrattan, found me in a net front scrum and obviously thought that I had not paid quite enough penance. My man Brian Murphy stepped in, leaned over, and quietly asked, "You don't want this, do you?" I quickly responded, "Oh God, no." Murph became my favorite linesman of all time that night. I later found out he was a New Hampshire guy. One New Hampshire guy taking care of another. Thanks, man. I want to start by congratulating Lauren. When I was growing up in Canaan, New Hampshire, I was able to watch the best players in the world on TV 38 and Nesson 82 times a year. I went to the 1996 All-Star Game at the new Fleet Center and watched Fedorov, Lemieux, Gretzky, and my hero, the guy who I wanted to play like my whole life, Ray Bourque, win the Most Valuable Player of the Game award. As a little boy, I knew who my heroes were. I knew where they played, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. Now, Lauren, because of you and your teammates, little girls now have their own Fedorovs, Lemieux, Gretzkys, and Bourques, but they are named Poulin, Coyle, and Knight. The MITE program that I run has 108 total skaters. 48 of them are girls. When I was a MITE playing in the same Hanover program in 1991, we had 2 girls. Now girls make up 44% of our skaters. Lauren, congrats on an awesome career and an awesome legacy. I want to thank everyone for coming. This is the greatest honor I've ever achieved, and I'm so proud to be here. I was born in Concord. My parents were teachers at St. Paul's School. When I was 18 months old, we moved to Massachusetts, then moved back to New Hampshire when I was 7. But the New Hampshire hockey history lessons started much younger than 7. If you have ever met my father, and I assume 90% of you in this room consider yourselves a great friend of Carl Lovejoy, then you can probably picture Carl's sons growing up on a steady diet of New Hampshire hockey stories. I was told that the best skating surface in the world was the black ice at SPS. I knew all about Lee Blossom's career at BC. I heard about the Tufts brothers and how one of them could jump over the crossbar. I heard about the legend of Ray Champagne, the greatest coach of all time, Bill Matthews, and how crazy Everett Arena used to get for Dad's Budmen games. I say all the time that I was a team effort. I have amazing parents. I have the best wife and the best 3 daughters ever. I was so lucky to be blessed with amazing coaches, attend the best schools, and learn from some of the greatest people in the world. But the fire that motivated me was the challenges I faced from people in this state. I loved being from New Hampshire, and I wanted to be the best. 7-year-old Ben Lovejoy arrived for Mite tryouts at Campion Arena, set to prove that he could live up to these famed New Hampshireites that I had heard so much about. That first season, I killed myself trying to beat Ryan LaRue and the Berlin Kings. The next season, it was Dan Travis and the whole Manchester Flames squirt team. Then it was Cardigan Mountain School. I arrived as a 6th grader, and the whole school was so proud of Darren Quinn. But the guy I wanted to be at that point in my life was Freddie Meyer. Then it was college. Then in college, it was Dick Umili's talented teams across the state. I was always battling to be the best in New Hampshire. When I made it to the NHL, I had lots of goals, but I knew that my career was never going to compare to Ray Bourque's. I'm realistic about my abilities, but I had 2 numbers that were burned into my mind: 281 and 463. Myers and Quint's respective NHL games played. My dreams as a 7-year-old continued to light my internal fire until I was 35 years old. I'm not a memorabilia guy. I have very few trinkets from my time in the NHL on display. But in a corner of my office, I have my mini Stanley Cup on display, along with 3 game pucks. My first NHL goal, my 100th NHL point, and my 464th games played puck, where I passed Darren Quinn for the most NHL games played by a New Hampshire-born player. The state was my home, but it was also my fuel. I am so proud to be here. I'm so honored. Thank you. A few thank yous. Coach Gaudette, I stupidly decided to leave New Hampshire and move away to college elsewhere. You welcomed me home when I was at the lowest point in my life. I am forever grateful. Thank you. Mom and Dad, thank you. Thank you for raising me, coaching me, being my sports psychiatrist, driving me, the genetics, having 2 brothers for me to battle with, for sending me to the best schools, for putting me in situations that made me uncomfortable, but not so uncomfortable that I would fail, and for always answering the phone after games because you knew I needed someone to talk to. I love you guys. Matt and Nick, my little brothers, iron sharpens iron. I had to be at my best growing up in a house with you guys. Your work ethic, your consistent excellence made me such a better athlete and person. Thank you so much for all you did throughout my career. I love you guys. I couldn't have done this without you. Thank you, Avery. We lived in 11 houses in 12 years while I was playing. I was an absentee father and husband for a whole lot of it. And even when I was home, much of my time was spent elsewhere. Much of my mind was elsewhere during that time because I was thinking about hockey. You were and are the best. While you didn't love some of my decisions, like skipping the birth of our 2nd child to go play in a hockey game, you were always supportive of me. And I would not have been able to do any of this without you. Lila, June, and Quinn, I love you guys. I became a better hockey player when I could come home and see you all. I'm so proud of you guys. Avery, Lila, June, Quinn, Mom, Dad, Matt, and Nick. The best day of my life was the day we won the Stanley Cup. As soon as we won, all I wanted to do was find you guys and get you down on the ice so we could celebrate together. We did. We won the Stanley Cup together, and now we are going into the New Hampshire Legends Hockey Hall of Fame together. Thank you all for coming and listening. If you would like a picture with the Stanley Cup, I would be honored to pose with you guys after the ceremony. Thank you.
Now And ladies and gentlemen, we thank you all very much for being here today. I know many of you will stick around because you'll have the opportunity to get your picture taken with Ben and the Stanley Cup. So again, thanks to all of you, all of our sponsors, and we look forward to 2022.